pretty much most of the loans end up Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. They pick their own rules. Can you live in the property? Can you have already moved out? Can you have a contract on the property already? Or do you have to get half the approval before a contract? Every single lender has different rules and regulations. And if you don't know every single lender's rules and regulations, it is a nightmare. But my firm knows them all. Half is not a nightmare. And the reason you use it as marketing tools, you say, you know what, when you're sitting at your listings kitchen table and you're going to try to figure out how you can help them because they're in a bad spot, you say, maybe we get you approved on half of it. If I get you approved on half of it, the bank will make you a promise they won't come after you for any deficiency. They'll hand you a check at closing for $3,000 to help you pay for a moving truck to get into that apartment or wherever you're going. If your client leaves the closing with a promise that the bank's not going to come after them for a deficiency of tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they have a check in their pocket for $3,000, you're a hero. And word of that deal is going to spread like wildfire. So I have some realtors advertising to listings. Let me see if I can get you qualified for half of it. Even if you don't, there's other programs out there. There's programs exist. Some programs will give your client $2,500 to help them move. Some will give more than a $3,000 half a month. So there's programs out there now. The help is out there now. Does anyone have any questions about short sales or HAFA?
Yeah, what is HAFA?
HAFA is a voluntary program put out by the government. It was intended to assist banks in helping get these short sales closed that weren't Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae loans. Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae got smart enough last year to say, listen, this works out really, really nicely. It gets people motivated, gets people on board. It makes people take care of the property. So when the seller's booted, they're not taking copper with them, and they're not taking the water heater with them. And I've been in houses where they took every door and window with them. Yeah. So Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae jumped on. And HAFA is a program where if your client qualifies, there's rules. The preliminary rules is they can't have more than $5 grand in a bank. If your client's already in a short sale type situation, they usually don't have $5,000 liquid funds. It has to be their own property. You know, they're not doing HAFA because I own 15 rental properties. But if your client has less than $5,000 in the bank and it's their own personal property and they get approved on HAFA, the bank will make a promise that they won't come after them for deficiency and they'll give them that $3 grand to help them move. Now listen, your clients are distressed in this situation. So don't say to them, let's get you on HAFA, call the bank. Because if they pick up the phone and call the bank, and the bank sends out all the HAFA paperwork and it sits there, I said earlier, some of these people aren't even opening their mail, it sits on their counter, and it's not returned in the deadline set by the bank, usually 14 days, they're out. They can't reapply. They are denied HAFA, and there's no chance of reapplication. If your client gets denied HAFA because, well, they just make too much money or denied on some other issue, they can always reapply because of a lifestyle change or now they make less money or the hours at work are cut. So I often suggest that if you have a listing and your client wants to come sit down in my office and speak with us, sit at my conference room table, or we can send someone out to them to figure out what kind of loan they have, start getting the paperwork together that we know they're going to need, then we'll pick up the phone. We'll call the bank and we'll say, hey, listen, send us out a HAFA package. We want to see if we can get this client qualified under HAFA. It's sent out on Monday and it's sent back on Tuesday. I'm not going to let any time expire. I'm not going to risk the client being shut out of the HAFA, possibly being approved under HAFA. Was there a question over here?
Yes. You said that you work for no deficiency. What is your percentage of rate?
If you don't hold me to it, my guess would be that when a seller leaves my office, certainly better than 80% leave with no deficiency after. Certainly better than 80. Once in a while, a lender says, Tom, you know what, your client makes a ton of money. We're going to let them do the short sale, but we want them to sign a $10,000 promissory note. Those promissory notes are usually interest-free. They're usually long-term. If the client looks big picture, we'll talk about big picture again. If the client looks big picture and they're going to walk away from hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt but has to sign a long-term interest-free promissory note for a $50 a month payment, that's a gift. That's a Christmas Eve gift, and we might have to convince our client of that. You wouldn't think we'd have to. That seems obvious to you and me that that's a gift. But it doesn't always seem obvious to a seller who's in a distressed situation. And when they sign that promissory note and they make payments on time for 2 or 3 months, and they say, Tom, you know what, my mom's willing to loan me $3 grand. Well, I got a tax return for $2,500. My office called the bank and said, you know what, you don't want this $10,000 paid